Thank you for joining the Focus School Designation presentation. This presentation was designed to provide you with more information about your Focus School designation and to provide more information on next steps. The State Department of Education envisions that Tennessee students will have access to a high-quality education no matter where they live. Tennessee Public Schools will be equipped to serve the academic and non-academic needs of all students in their career paths, and Tennessee will set a new path for the education profession and be the top state in which to become and remain a teacher and leader for all. As a result of participating in this session, we hope that you will understand the focus school identification and exit criteria, understand the additional planning requirements for focus schools, be able to lead a planning team in revising the school improvement plan, and align resources in school improvement grants to ensure compliance with federal and state regulations. In today's presentation, we will take a look at a designation overview, the requirements for districts and schools, state supports, reviewing and revising the plan, strategy selection, action steps, and technical support. Designation Overview. Focus schools have one or more significantly and or consistently underperforming student groups. There are two federal designations for focus schools. They are Targeted Support and Improvement and Additional Targeted Support and Improvement. The federal government recognizes 10 student groups. They are Black, Hispanic, and Native American students, economically disadvantaged students, English learners, students with disabilities, Hispanic, Latino, Black or African American, American Indian or Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, Asian, and white. Targeted support and improvement identification occurs when a student group falls in the bottom 5% for that student group. Only schools with sufficient data for all relevant indicators are eligible, and these schools are identified annually. Only schools identified as targeted support and improvement are eligible for additional targeted support and improvement identification. A student group success rate for a school that has been identified as additional targeted support and improvement is less than or equal to the maximum success rate of any priority school in their pool, and none of the indicators for that identified student group have a score of A or B. If an additional targeted support and improvement school was identified for graduation, the graduation rate for that student group was less than 67%. These schools are identified every 3 years, aligning with the priority CSI identification cycle. In order to exit, a targeted support and improvement school must not be identified as targeted support and improvement the following year. If no new targeted support and improvement school list is generated for a given year, schools will retain the targeted support and improvement designation from the previous year until a new list is generated. In order for a school to exit the additional targeted support and improvement designation, it must have a 1-year success rate for each identified student group that exceeds the 10th percentile in both of the two most recent years. Or it must have a 1-year success rate for each student group identified exceeding the 15th percentile in the most recent year, or earn a TVOS composite of 4 or 5 in all accountability subjects for both the two most recent years for each of the identified student groups, or graduate at least 67% of students for each student group in the two most recent years, if identified for graduation rate. Requirements for districts. Districts with focus schools must revise their ELA plan to answer the question about how it will support its focus schools and resubmit the LEA plan by October 28, 2022. All districts must review and approve revisions to school plans for focus schools no later than November 18, 2022. School requirements. Schools must revise their school improvement plans to address the needs of the identified subgroups, and they must identify evidence-based strategies to specifically address needs of the identified student groups. School plans must be submitted to the LEA by November 4th, 2022, and submitted to the department by November 18th, 2022. ATSI and TSI school plans will be reviewed and approved by CORE. Each focus school must notify the parents of each student enrolled in the school of its designation status. A copy of the parent communication must be uploaded in the Upload Documents section of the school plan in Form 10. Most of the monitoring for focus schools will be district-led and consist of learning walks and school reviews. There will be department-led monitoring in the form of learning walks and data discussions. Data collection. Most of the data will be collected by the department. However, there may be some self-reported data in the form of formative assessments. This monitoring will occur as support by CORE points of contact and may include biannual reports on the implementation and effectiveness of school turnaround strategies included in the school improvement plans. State supports. CORE consultants and the focus school director will be available to provide additional training and guidance for district and school leaders for focus schools. Plan revisions. Here is an overview of the revision process. First, you will explore the data, analyze the needs, and determine root causes for the underperformance of the identified student subgroup. You will align needs to existing goals or develop new goals. You will choose evidence-based strategies to address root causes, and then you will add subgroup specific action steps. Reviewing the current data. As you are exploring the data that is currently in your school improvement plan, you may want to use these guiding questions to ensure that you are including subgroup specific data. What subgroup specific data is not included in your school improvement plan? Is there other data that need to be gathered to understand the needs of the identified subgroup? What emerging trends can be identified? How do results compare between data sources? Are there any outliers in the data? How do results compare to previous years? And what is the growth rate for specific subgroup populations? Determine root causes. To establish root causes, you must first define the problem. The problem has already been identified for focus schools. The framing question is, why is the identified subgroup underperforming? Then you will formulate hypotheses based on data. Then you will drill down to the root causes using the 5 whys protocol. Even though this is the suggested protocol, you may use whatever root cause analysis you like. Those hypotheses from the previous step should be based on data and should clarify the need. For example, a focus school identified for the students with disabilities subgroup may discover that students with disabilities attendance is lower than overall student attendance and hypothesize that this is one of the reasons the students with disabilities subgroup is underperforming. Then the need would be students with disabilities attendance. If there is a goal addressing student attendance, then the goal would only need to be revised. However, if there is no goal addressing student attendance, then we may have to develop a new one. Here are some guiding questions to help you determine if an existing goal needs to be revised or if a new goal should be developed. If there is no existing goal that is aligned with the prioritized need, then a new goal will be developed. However, if there is no performance metric that addresses the identified student group in an existing goal, then an existing goal could possibly be revised to include the performance metric for the identified student group. All goals should be SMART, meaning they should be strategic and specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Then choose evidence-based strategies to address the needs and root causes of the identified subgroup. What is a strategy? A strategy is a path chosen to address the prioritized needs of the identified student group. A good one articulates a clear roadmap for how a change or improvement will be made. Strategies define the things the people in the organization should prioritize to achieve the goals. And the descriptions should clearly articulate how the strategy will move the school toward its overall goals. Strategies must be aligned to one of the levers of change and evidence-based. Here are the 4 levers of change. Lever 1 is strong leadership. Level 2 is effective instruction. Level 3 is student support and services. And level 4 is additional supports. All turnaround work is rooted in one of these 4 levers. Strategies must also be evidence-based. ATSI requires that schools identified for improvement must implement strategies in the top 3 tiers of evidence. Tier 1 is considered strong evidence and is supported by one or more well-designed and well-implemented randomized controlled experimental studies. Tier 2 is moderate evidence and it is supported by one or more well-designed and well-implemented quasi-experimental studies. And Tier 3 is promising evidence, supported by one or more well-designed and well-implemented correlational studies. Here are some examples of strategies from Level 2, Effective Instruction, and Level 3, Student Support and Services. If you need additional resources to find evidence-based strategies, here is a list of several websites that can help you. The final step for your plan revisions is to add subgroup specific action steps. An action step clarifies the strategy by providing specificity. Here is an example of an action step for teachers and staff engaging in professional learning. Regular education teachers and special education teachers will receive training to implement a co-teaching model for inclusion. Included are implementation and effectiveness measures. The implementation measure helps us determine if we are doing what we said we would do. Here is an example. The lesson plan template for each content area will be revised to include which teacher, regular or special, will be responsible for facilitating each portion of the lesson. The effectiveness measure helps us to determine if the action step is working. Here is an example of an effectiveness measure. Students with disabilities performance will increase by 10 percentage points on formative assessments. 75% of special education teachers implementing the co-teaching model will exhibit improvement on their team evaluations. The persons responsible for implementation and effectiveness should be included along with the funding source. Grant opportunities. There will be grant opportunities for additional targeted support and improvement schools. The purpose of the additional targeted support and improvement grant is to provide districts and schools with resources to support school improvement plan implementation of evidence-based strategies to address specific student subgroup needs as identified in the school improvement plans, needs assessment, and root cause analysis. The grant application has 2 parts. The district portion includes contact information, program details, fiscal oversight and accountability, and assurances. The school portion includes a school level application, goals, strategies, and action steps that can actually be copied and pasted directly from your school improvement plan, monitoring, and the budget. Available supports. The Division of School Turnaround, in collaboration with core consultants, will offer specific supports for focus schools. These supports include facilitation of the needs assessment and/or school improvement plan revisions, strategy implementation, which could be content-specific support, particularly in ELA and math, data analysis, after-action reviews, and coordination of support from other divisions within the department. If we engage in this process successfully, we should have a school improvement plan that is data-driven and addresses the identified subgroup, a grant application that mirrors the portion of the school improvement plan that focuses on the identified subgroup, and support aligned to the strategy and action steps within the school improvement plan and grant application to improve identified subgroup performance. This concludes the Focus Schools designation presentation. For technical assistance, please feel free to reach out to any of the following.